What's up everybody, it's Afro Daddy Reviews. Recently, I played a game that really chafed my taint. Getting your nipples twisted until they are more purple than Grimace's mulberry balloon knot is still not nearly as painful as what this game put me through. If you thought stilettos were the only thing dancing on my poor kiwis, then you might want to clutch your pearls tighter than my ass cheeks when I tell you about the cleats that join the testicular tango. If each of my family jewels were SpongeBob and Patrick, then the game I played is like Dennis. I'm confident that even my grandkids will be suffering from the events that transpired here. What game could have caused me such unfathomable pain? Well, I'll tell you. This game is Volgarr the Viking.
With most games, I'm able to access my cerebral database to recollect how I was able to obtain them. Rotate the visage of an apple in your mind, if you can. Whether or not the story is interesting can have its own discussion another time. But when it comes to Volgarr, I honestly don't remember getting it in the first place. It must have been an impulse buy to fill a quota for a deal in a big seasonal sale on Steam or something. For years, this game has been staring at me, just begging to be opened for the first time. I finally thought, sure, why not? This could be a good way to start tackling my backlog of games anyway. How bad could it be? Needless to say, this game pulls no punches. It's been a good while since the game humbled me this hard and so quickly. This wasn't like, oh, the game is pretty fun, but it just has a difficulty spike towards the end. No! The game comes right out of the gates with a crowbar to the knees. Honestly, the Steam page summary says it all. Return to the golden age of arcades with a hardcore action platformer that pulls no punches. Oh wait, I said that, huh? Possesses all the hallmarks of true classics like Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Rastan Saga, Castlevania, and more with precise controls, high challenge, and meticulous design. Even if you are not familiar with any of the other works that Volgarr is heavily referencing, the game makes sure to give you a taste anyway. Immediately, the game puts you into the thick of it. In the first level, you are just swarmed with lizardmen that want nothing but your head on a stake. This is the first level? Believe it or not, the game actually throws you a bone by giving you a power-up right away. Although, I'll admit, it took me a bit to even realize that. Volgarr is equipped with a sword and a spear at all times. The power-up they give you in the first level is the hammer shield. Contrary to its name, it actually empowers your spear to be able to charge up and pierce through multiple enemies at once. As a shield, it's nice because it can block projectiles and attacks without breaking. However, the part that made me realize it even was a power-up was when it got knocked off. This ain't like Mario where you go down one stage in the power-up hierarchy. When you get hit, you lose your shield entirely. To be clear, in order to even get the hammer shield, you must first be wielding a wooden shield. Now mind you, the wooden shield can break even when it does its job. Volgarr makes sure to beat that lesson into you as soon as possible. If you want better equipment, then you have to play well. And if you want to keep that equipment, then you have to play even better. In order to survive through this game, it's important to know the tiers of protection and equipment. Luckily for you, your old pal Aphrodite is here to break it down for you. The first layer of protection is no protection. This is where Volgarr is practically naked except for his weapons of choice. Any, and I mean any, stray hit that comes your way will tear your skin and flesh asunder. So play thoughtfully and carefully because your feeble life is literally depending on it. The second layer of protection comes from the shields. As mentioned before, a wooden shield can block things, but it can also break that way, so you're better off having the hammer shield with you. But you need the wooden shield intact in order to upgrade it in the first place. Regardless of how fancy your shield may be, if you get hit, it's gone all the same. The final layer of protection comes from the helmet and flame sword. On its own, I'm fairly certain that the helmet is solely a means of protection above the shield. Taking a hit only removes the helmet, so you still have a shield to guard you. However, if you are able to hold on to the helmet long enough, it will allow you to acquire the flame sword. This sword does double the damage and has a much longer reach. Don't let that newfound power blind you though, because one wrong move will take the sword and the helmet away in one fell swoop. The levels themselves are quite the gauntlets as well. There are only 6 levels in total, but you'll be wishing it was less. I averaged about 1 hour per level, which, with each level being split into 2 parts, may not sound too bad. That is, until you play for yourself and see just how acquainted you get with that damn checkpoint crystal. Each level has their own unique aesthetic, from the stage itself, the music, and even down to the enemies as well. As much as this game has bullied me into submission, I actually really appreciate the care and consideration put into the enemy designs in each level. You start off in the jungle where the lizard men only really care about beating you over the head with a stick. To offset their simplistic objective, they can come in large droves and even do some of their own platforming just to get you. In the water level, you see more enemies armed with things to hit you with. But now the thinking is, okay, but do these frogs act differently? Which they do. It's harder to deal with them, at least up close, since they keep you at bay with their spears, so that means you gotta fight fire with fire. In the graveyard, skeletons show up with shields, so now you have to work on your positioning more to hit them in their blind spots. The volcano has cultists that run at you with reckless abandon, and the airship has birds.
Bird up!
It's small potatoes in the grand scheme of things, and I've only mentioned one kind of enemy per level, but they shake up gameplay enough to always keep the player on their toes. It's also part of what makes the game so difficult. It's adapt or die. Enemies may be a huge contributing factor into why the game is difficult, but the other main ingredients in this masochistic cake are the level design itself and the control scheme. The levels are crafted in a way where the enemies will have the upper hand most of the time. After all, this is their stomping ground, not yours. This does lead to the occasional part of a level where an enemy can potshot you just cause. Otherwise, all the enemies are visible enough for the player to be aware of their presence, even if they are unsure of its capabilities yet. Whether they be long, laborious paths in the wilds of a jungle or volcano, or treacherous winding corridors of a palace or catacombs, something that Volgarr can always try to make use out of are his spears. Quick tangent for the spears, I mentioned before that they help you deal with faraway enemies, and can even be powered up with an upgrade. It's important to note that even though the spear and the sword do the same amount of damage, at least without power-ups, spears tend to be more strict with its utility. Volgarr needs time to wind up whenever he throws a spear on the ground, not to mention that some enemies are too short to even be hit by spears normally. This is why the sword is your swift and trusty tool in close quarters combat. The truly interesting thing about spears is the fact that they can be lodged into walls. This is required to progress occasionally, but can also help produce new ways of tackling a level. It honestly isn't much, but the fact that creating platforms are in your hands makes you feel pretty accomplished. This is especially the case in boss fights. Typically, a behemoth stands before you, and thunking spears into the wall for impromptu footholds is essential. Unless, of course, you enjoy watching all of your hard work disappear within mere moments. Speaking of bosses, I can circle back to level design, because if you die in a boss fight, when you die in a boss fight, you don't just get kicked out of the boss room. You get sent back to the halfway point of the level. The bosses themselves aren't too bad, all things considered, but it's the trek back to the fight that makes each of them so hard. That's right, gamers, this is the real Dark Souls of platformers. Oh, but yeah, I said it! Look, if you want to debate that, you could take that down to the comments section, and maybe even like and subscribe while you're there. Yeah, thanks. However, one undebatable thing that Volgarr and Dark Souls have in common is the rolling, baby. Tumbling around like you're a toddler, woo! Aside from getting through a small gap in some levels, I swear you should be able to evade attacks with the roll, but I don't think I've ever got it to work in a way that didn't just end up like... Even before you learn how to roll, you learn just how committal the controls in this game are. Volgarr may have been given a mission by the gods, but he is still as mortal as you and me, other than the... When Volgarr jumps, he cannot change directions midair. You made your choice, now you gotta ride it out. Now Volgarr is able to double jump, which I'll concede places him slightly above a single jumping normies, but that extra jump is just as committal as the first. It most certainly helps with redirection, but you don't want to get too carried away with it. Combine these jumps with the fact that the only time that spears cannot be launched into walls is when you are too close to them, and you quickly come to terms with the fact that positioning in this game is of the utmost importance. Too close to anything and you risk losing your gear. Too far from anything and you aren't able to see what may come your way. Too gung-ho about your movement and you risk getting sent back to the last checkpoint. This game demands respect, and until it gets that, well, it'll find a way. It's safe to say that the developers did exactly what they set out to do. Volgarr the Viking is a brutal game to play. It's not done with the kind of nonsense that you'd see in certain Mario Maker levels or those Flash games in the early 2000s where the point is just to frustrate the player. That is not to say that you won't be steaming while playing this game, but it's clear that a lot of love was put into each torture chamber that they throw you into. Hell, the final boss is the only time where a checkpoint is put outside the boss room and they lay out all of the power-ups for you. This game is for the gamers who really enjoyed the challenge, or are nostalgic for the games of old, or maybe for streamers whose chat enjoys watching them suffer. I don't know. There's even a digital manual online that is exactly reminiscent of what you used to find packaged with games. Oh, the lost art of game manuals. The manual lays out more details of the story and even goes in depth about the levels themselves. You can even learn techniques not directly told to you within the game here as well. The enemies also get a roll call at the end of the credits. Aw, that's cute. Wait, what? There is more to Volgarr's tale? What? No. Even the manual mentions a World 7. I didn't find a World 7. Will you be the first to find it and unlock its mysteries? Do I have to play the game to near perfection? There's a sequel too?
Fuck you!
Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. I'd appreciate it if you left a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Other than that, thank you for watching.
Sorry. Cock ass! Fuck fucking dick!